played down the wing, keeping the wide attack. Here's a chance! Well, he scored, and it's a big moment for them in the match. They've pushed their lead now to...
What's up, football fans? I am Flatcap, aka Wolfsterino, aka That's Swede, and this is another 100 games player review for FIFA 18. I hope you'd enjoyed the previous video that we did for the Inform Goretzka card. This time around we're gonna revisit my Bundesliga squad to review another Team of the Week card that's been out for a while. It's the Inform Julian Brandt, the left midfielder from Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. This is one of these cards that I've played with for a long time now, but it wasn't really until I sat down and analyzed the collective game stats that I got a chance to really analyze his performance for me. I used to play with Frank Ribéry on the flank, and Brandt has felt like an upgrade to that, but we'll see in a while how he has performed for me over those 100 games. Well, we got tons of stats to go through, so let's just get started, shall we? Let's start with going to Footbin again and looking at his base and in-game stats. He's got pretty nice base stats actually, with 85 pace, 84 passing and 86 dribbling, as well as 81 shooting. Those are actually quite nice. If we look at the in-game stats, the most important ones I think would be his 86 sprint speed, 85 positioning and 85 shot power. His 89 short passing and 91 vision is also a really good combination. He also got 90 dribbling in-game stat, which is really good. His defense and physique stats, well, not that good. He's mainly not there to defend either, but you could wish for him to have better physique stats actually, because he's a little bit weak. And speaking about weakness, let's just take a moment here and admire his outstandingly low composure at 61. I repeat, 61 composure for an attacking player. Amazing. If you don't understand composure, this is how I got it explained to me. Not only will it affect the player's ability to actually score when it comes up one-on-one with the goalkeeper, it will also affect his stress level and his behavior. As soon as he gets a defender closing in on him or a defender on his back, he'll more likely to lose the ball with low composure.
On the attack here. Cleverly done. Must score! Off the post!
I play him with the chemistry style of Hawk, which is actually quite nice, because he'll get a really nice 93 acceleration and 91 sprint speed, combined with 95 positioning, 95 shot power, 91 long shots, and still got that 89 short passing and 90 dribbling. So with Hawk he actually gets really nice stats, with quite a few of the vital ones over 90, which is really good, but unfortunately still 61 composure though. If you compare him to the other options in the Bundesliga, you can see that he's actually not that far from Marco Reus, looking at his base stats, but has slightly less pace and less shooting, and of course Reus has better composure. He's also very comparable to Frank Ribéry, but his better shooting and slightly better pace is to his advantage here, and also Ribéry's low stamina is a really big setback. But old Frank has 5-star skill, which is nice if you utilize that. Also, as you might have guessed, Ribéry has much better composure. One popular option for left midfielders on the Bundesliga is Bruma from RB Leipzig. He has outstanding pace and also the only one among these four with high work rate. But apart from having great pace, I think that most of Brandt's stats are superior, apart from, yeah, you guessed it, his composure.
Deflection by the defender there, but the goal will stand.
And let's jump into the good stuff, shall we? I've tried to visualize the different stats and the outcome from these 100 games a little bit differently this time, more focusing on how he compares to other players. Let me know if you think this is a fair comparison in the comments below. What we're looking at here are the total summary of his game stats from these 100 games, but we're gonna jump right in and compare him to other players. What I've done is that I've compared him to other midfielders, so that's left mids, right mids, along with central midfielders that I've played more than 20 games with. So the blue piles will represent left mids and right mids, and the goldish ones will represent CMs, because some stats will be more relevant to compare him to other left mids and right mids than CMs. As we can see here, he comes in at a modest 8th place in the goals per game stat, scoring only 0.15 goals per game. It's also notable that the different players in this list have played very different amount of games, where Martial, who's on top here with 0.31 goals per game, had only played 20 games so far. Which makes me think on a question for you. How many games should you play with the player before you analyze him? Is it 20 games, 50 games or 100 games? Let me know your thoughts, guys. The next stat is the average assists per game. Here he is even lower down the stats with 0.14 assists per game, which places him on 8th place in total with only 2 players below him. This might look bad, but all the left mids and right mids are very close to each other here. They are also so close in their stats that I would say Brandt is not much worse than any of the other left mids or right mids. Best one from that position here is Son, that has 0.19 assists per game. And as you can see, most of the assists from midfield come centrally from the CMs.
It's Kimmich. Well, then it goes. Big deflection by the defender there, but the goal will stand.
So let's look at shots next. The pile here shows the number of shots on target per game, while the graph up here shows the percentage of shots totally hitting the target. So its stats here places him among the top tiers on left mids and right mids, and percentage of shots on target actually places him second among all midfielders, which is rather good actually. Passing stats now. The pile down here this time will show us the average number of successful passes per game, where he's 8th in total and 3rd among left mids and right mids. And his successful passing percentage here at 87% places him on 5th spot among all midfielders. I'd say this is a decent stat from his position, and my feeling when I play with him is that he's often very involved in build-up play with his good short passing. His mid-tier here when it comes to crossing, scoring a successful 0.3 crosses per game, which is roughly 1 successful cross every 3rd game. With his successful crossing percentage of 41%, he will place 3rd among all the left mids and right mids. As you can see, it's natural that the central mids here have much fewer crosses per game, but quite a few of them have high successful rate on their crosses. Tackles surprised me a bit. His low defensive stats and low physics would put him in the bottom of this list, but instead he's second best among all the left mids and right mids with 0.5 successful tackles per game, so that's 1 successful tackle every other game. And he has a success rate of 50% of his tackles being successful. That's actually quite a good stat from a player with such low defensive stats. Last comparison with other midfielders are the average game rating. I'm not sure how the algorithm used by EA is on the game rating, because sometimes it's very strange. But it still gives us a comparison to other players here, and that's relevant. And as you can see, he's second from the bottom with 7.7 average rating. One thing that we're gonna look at finally, and this is very important, it's his consistency. These stats represent all of his 100 games, with the blue pile here being goals scored and the gold ones being assists. So as you can see, he scored 2 goals and had 1 assist on his debut, and up until 50 games or so he was really good for me. In fact, had I only took the stats from these first 50 games, he'd be on top for both goals per game and assists per games with a good margin among all the left mids and right mids, and actually better than some of the central midfielders. But it's clear here that something happened after these 50 games, because after this big slump here of almost 20 games where he didn't contribute at all, he's now only scored or assisted occasionally. I'm actually not sure why it looks like this, but it sure is interesting. Could it be that a patch for FIFA was installed after 50 games that somehow changed the gameplay? Or did I introduce other players to the squad that kind of took over? Or did I change my playing style? I really can't tell, but if you have any idea why it looks like this, please just let me know.
A wide attack going. He's in here, and he's done it. Well, he managed to keep it down, put it into the back of the net, and the keeper...
So let's just one thing left, and it's to summarize my experience with this card. Let's start with his pros. I think he has good all-around attacking stats. He does get involved a lot in the play. He is surprisingly good defensively, and he has quite good passing with his high short passing stat. His biggest flaws would be he doesn't contribute enough, and mind you, this is over the 100 games. As you just noted, if I had done this summary after 50 games, I wouldn't have put it as a flaw. This is also connected to the next one, with him not being consistent. Over these 100 games, he hasn't been consistent enough. And probably his biggest flaws would be his composure. I'm gonna score all the player that I review in a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst player in FIFA and 10 being club legend. And I've started by scoring the Inform Goretzka that we reviewed last week, and I've scored him an 8 on this scale. He is a key player, he always delivers for me. Brandt, well, I've scored him a 6 on this scale. He's good, he does get involved a lot, but he's not spectacular. There are probably better options out there. So that is all for this time. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you do, and until next time, see ya!
Now the shot, and he's put it away beautifully.
Well, it's all downhill from here, isn't it? 2 goals on his debut. He won't forget today.
Well, look at it again, off the underside of the bar and in.
Yeah, spectacular, isn't it, when that happens? Keeper no chance.